Hello, my brothers and Schwestern, and welcome to another Cinema Saturday! For those of you who don't know, this is the show where I do movie reviews. And for this month of December, it's all about trilogies. And so, to kick off this whole month of awesome trilogy-ness, we're going with Underworld. And yes, there's a fourth movie coming out, but for now it's still a trilogy, so shut up. Now, although the first film, Underworld, was released first, and it's the second in the series, we're starting with the prequel, Underworld Rise of the Lycans. So, by the time this movie already starts, the vampires and Lycans, which are werewolves, they've already been, going at it for quite some time now. But then, one of the Lycan captives that they have at this big castle of awesomeness, it gives birth to what looks like a human. And turns out it's like a Lycan, but it's not. It's really weird because they haven't seen anything like this before. So, out of curiosity, instead of having this thing killed, the leader of the time, Victor, decides to let it live and just see what happens, basically. And so this little boy grows up to be one of the most badass, werewolf characters, Lucian. Now, Victor and his whole clan of vampires try to keep everything under control, so Lucian grows up as a slave, just like all the other Lycans, or aka werewolves. According to the Underworld mythos, vampires can actually grow up, because Victor has a daughter, Sonia, who early in the film you see as a little girl, and then she grows up to be Topazki's reference. And as the two of them grow up, they start to secretly bond and fall in love. And it's oh so beautiful. And it's like a Romeo and Juliet thinks it's forbidden because she's the vampire, he's the werewolf, and blah blah blah. Except it's much cooler because they're both badass characters. Fast forward, both of them are grown adults now. And after all this time, Lucian has fashioned himself a key for the lock that's around his neck. And he says that he's going to run away and he wants Sonia to come with him. And she's like, okay, because they're so in love and all that stuff. But then Sonia goes out with a bunch of other death dealers, as they're called. And they're there to chaperone this caravan coming into their castle village type thing. But all hell breaks loose because a bunch of Lycans ransack the whole operation. And then Lucian, all the way back at the castle, he knows something's going on. So he breaks out of the castle, he guns it over there, ends up using the key, taking off his collar, and saving a lot of lives because he's a badass. But then he gets in trouble for doing all that because you're not supposed to take your collar off, apparently. And he gets thrown into the, down in the brig, and blah blah blah, gets some whippings, all that good stuff. Started hardening him into, God, I fucking hate vampires. Then blah blah blah, stuff that's not as important, but it is kind of, but I'm not going to get into it. Lucian and a bunch of other recently turned Lycans that came in, they end up breaking out. And they go off, they're finding other people to turn into Lycans so they can go back to the castle, storm it, deal as much death as possible, and get Sonia and just book it out of there. Because that's the main reason why Lucian's going back, just to get Sonia so they can run away together. But blah blah blah, awesomely cool fight scenes, and then Sonia and her father Victor start doing a sword battle, and then she tells him, I'm pregnant with Lucian's baby, which at this point in time in their history, actually throughout the entire history, is incredibly taboo. It's unheard of. A Lycan and a vampire mixing blood. So he's all like, oh, fuck no. And he has them both arrested, and so they're down. She's ended up being guilty of treason, I think, something like that. They end up being chained in this room. Lucian's down, chained to the floor, facing Sonia. Sonia's on this post, chained up, and then they get off their teary goodbye. Then this thing up at the top comes off, and she starts to fucking burn from the sun. And it's really sad, but it's cool because vampires fucking burn. Fuck you, Twilight. And so now Lucian's utter rage for vampires now, mainly Victor, is at an all-time high. So he just busts out, gets all of his Lycan buddies together. They go at it again, and then they end up victorious, and they go off, and Lucian thinks he kills Victor, but apparently not really. You know, you're talking about this seriously. He ends up taking a sword and stabbing Lucian right through the fucking mouth. I mean, like that, seriously. And apparently that doesn't kill him, but that doesn't matter because he's a little necessary in the next film, which is Underworld. Take the events from Rise of the Lycans, zoom forward fuckload of years, and you have Underworld, the movie that started all of this. Things are a little more covert now because, you know, with all this technology that we have these days, they kind of have to be in hiding now. The Lycans and the werewolf vampires, damn it. Now, the Death Dealers are still around, the people I mentioned earlier, very briefly. And in this movie, you have your main character, Celine, played by Kate Beckinsale. Now, this movie starts off, she's tracking these Lycans because it looks like they're following someone. And they end up going down into the subway system. Awesomely awesome firefight. And when Celine goes back to their mansion, they find out that the Lycans have made these UV bullets that basically, you fire it at a vampire and you hit, they're gone. And after reviewing the footage, Celine finds out that the Lycans really were following someone. They were following this human, Michael. But the main guy that's in charge says, hey, don't pursue this, we have a lot more going on, so get ready for all this. And what he's talking about is one of the main head vampire ladies is coming into town and all that stuff. Political stuff, basically. But she goes and she tracks him down where he lives and she runs into him. But turns out that Lycans were following him too, so while they're there, a little more of a firefight while they're trying to escape. But then, this guy comes out who will look familiar if you've seen the prequel. And he goes up, he bites Michael, and gets some of his blood. Okay, and guess who this guy was? Okay, you're done guessing. Yeah, it's fucking Lucian. And according to the legends that Victor had, you know, told everybody, he said that he killed Lucian. So everyone thinks that he's dead, but he's not. So Celine takes Michael back to their mansion. Turns out he's turning into a Lycan. So they go, she ties him up in this, like, medical lab or whatever. And then she goes back to the mansion, blah, 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 blah. She comes back. There's a firefight again with Lycans, because they're just everywhere. Michael jumps out a window, but then gets pulled over by the cops, who are really Lycans. The Lycan cops take him to this secret place, blah, blah, blah. And Celine's all like, we gotta go save him. And everyone's else like, no, we have all this to deal with. Shut up. But then she awakens Victor, which is very bad, because it's not his turn to be awakened. Blah, 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 stuff happens. I'm not going to get into it, because it's going to be too long anyways. Lucian is trying to make a hybrid, like the baby he and Sonya would have had. And in order to do that, he would have needed a son of Corvinus, who is Michael, a human that has the Corvinus strain or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. You can look up the mythos if you want. It's actually pretty damn cool. Then again, blah, blah, blah. Not going to get into it because it's too long. The vampires storm the Lycans' hideout. And in doing so, awesomely cool fights and everything. And then Lucian ends up getting killed. Michael gets bitten by Celine to save his life. He becomes this really cool hybrid thing. It's like, he's like totally black. He has claws. This looks really cool. You have to see this for yourself. Then Celine ends up killing Victor, and yay! And then that's basically it. Which leads us directly into Underworld Evolution. Now this film takes place basically right after Underworld. And Celine and Michael are on the run from all the other vampires because they're chasing after them because stuff happens. And so while they're on the run, blah, 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 Celine tracks down an information kind of guy. Blah blah blah. Get some information. Blah blah blah. And way back at the castle, the guy who was supposed to wake up. He wakes up and he's kind of been turned into somewhat of a hybrid because things happen in Underworld that I didn't get into because I don't want to get that detailed. Then he gets blah blah blah. He wakes up. He finds out what's going on. He's like, ugh. His name is Marcus. Now Marcus wants to get to Celine and Michael because Celine has this key to Marcus's brother's William's cell because he's been locked away for God knows how long now. And all Marcus wants is to set his brother William free from his prison. Blah 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 blah. Not so boring, but kind of boring details. They finally get to the place where William has been hidden for so long. Bunch of awesome fights, because that's how these movies go. William gets set free, so more awesome fights. Blah blah blah. William ends up getting killed, and then Marcus ends up getting killed, and all happy days. These movies are all fucking awesome. Okay, go watch them all. Hopefully you will enjoy them because they're really kick-ass with all the action scenes and everything. So I really hope you'd like this movie because I certainly did. All the actors, kudos to you guys. You made a great movie. Directors, you all did awesome. I can't wait for Awakening to come out next year. The trailer looks really cool. It's gonna be awesome, hopefully. So, out of the entire series, I give each movie a 5 out of 5, so it all makes a 15 out of 15 for complete awesomeness. Now, that's it for this week's Cinema Saturday. I will see you guys next week, where I'm reviewing Transformers. Bye, guys.